Hi students, this is a recorded session where the teachers of the course will be discussing one of the short stories that we're given in the course. And as you know, we're discussing the area of identity. So I'm going to ask Dina to give us a little bit of background as to where this story, which we've been calling Soraya, but what is it exactly?
Okay. Hi everybody, hi students. This story is taken from a novel called The Inheritance of Exile, written by Suzanne Darraj. Suzanne Maadi Darraj is a writer, a woman writer originally from Palestine, and she's living in the United States. This story is one of the fourth stories talking about women and the difficulties they face while they're living in a Western country, the complexities they live or they encounter as a result of being, having different cultures, different languages, different religions, different values. And Soraya is one of the main characters that Suzanne Maadi Darraj tried to show the cultural difficulties or complexities she faced while she living in the United States. One of these things is the issue of how the Western world referred to her either as non-American, but on the other hand, she is considered as an American. And this kind of complexity.
So basically, the story, within the story, we've got a lot of issues that are being brought up. Rena, would you like to continue on that line?
Right. Well, we're talking about this woman who declares her identity that is defined not through nationality, but through her attitude towards life, and she separates herself from what is the norm. So she declares, "I'm a new breed, I'm a rebel," but she also says, "I am in between," and the in-betweenness is going to be a theme in this story. The in-betweenness of identity. Is she American? Does she look Mexican? Does he look Mexican? And basically, she's really making a very feminist declaration. She has men as friends as well as lovers, and she's different than her mother and sisters. She can make a man talk. But afterwards, we see her at the end of the story. She wishes she could have what any traditional woman wants. She wishes she would have a man as a hero who would not be defeated and would stand up and would be very, very strong.
Okay, and I think that if you remember last time in our last session, we discussed the multiple identity issue, how identity can be dynamic and changing. And in this story, we see this dynamic identity of Walid wanting to really adapt to the new context he's in. He doesn't want to be around Arabs. He says they're expensive, they're nosy. So for him, it's his choice, and he refuses to keep his Arab identity. So he doesn't even go, he doesn't go to the mosque on Friday, he goes to a pub and he drinks. So this is part, if you remember, we spoke about dying with the wrong name, how people change their names once they come to the States. This was in Ellis Island. And here it's the same point where this guy wants to be perceived not as an Arab, but actually he's mistaken as a Mexican. And Mexican and Arabs look a lot alike. And
But why do you think if you say that, why is it here when the person in the pub, just at the right, you can see here, when the person in the pub says to him, what's your name? And he said, it's Walid. and the bartender wants to change it to something American, and he's not interested in that. I learned your language, you can learn my name, he told him. Fair enough. I mean, Manal, from what you said,
he doesn't have a problem with the name, Elaine. He doesn't have a problem with the name. He has a problem with being around Arabs, and he doesn't want to be around his group, his people. He wants to be with the new society he belongs to. He wants to change his identity as an Arab to an identity of a man who's assimilated in the new context he has, because as we see, and this is I think the title of the story is Visas. So he has recently arrived to the States, and this is what he's trying to do. He's trying to change his identity in this new context.
But he doesn't want to change his name.
Yeah, we saw the name issue in the dying without a wrong name, but here it's not the name, it's the identity, not the name.
But she also...
Identity. Jen, can you tell us a bit more about the whole thing about Mexicans in America? I mean, what is their standing? How do people look at them?
Well, it's quite interesting, actually. I think this conflict between the Mexicans, who are confused here with the Arabs, and the white people, because he himself sort of makes himself look Mexican or ends up looking Mexican, and they look at him and think misidentify him as Mexican. But what it sounds like he very much would like to be is white. So an example like Manal was talking about, how he has decided that on Fridays he's going to go out to the Jackknife instead. He's chosen the white name, the white customers, the white neighborhood on page 58. But somehow it shifts from that whiteness that he's seeking to Mexican, because physically the identification that they come up with is Mexican. And I think part of that is just that they can't even conceive of somebody as Arab. They're not familiar enough with it. But the people who are regarded as the other in that part of the country are Mexican. And that most closely
yes, I think it's even more than that. If you look at America today, I mean, people who speak Spanish, and most of those people come from Mexico. Mexico obviously is the country that has the southern border with America. And I don't know what the percentage is, but there's a very large percentage in America. I think it's over a third of Spanish-speaking people.
But they feel very marginal, Elaine. Yeah. Mexican and Chicano literature is considered marginal. They are not a part of the mainstream, just like maybe Palestinians also feel that way.
Yeah, they also are considered as the others. They are not in the categories. Yeah.
Yes. And also I agree. And I agree with Jan, being that the Americans here are so ignorant that they cannot even distinguish the language, not just the person, the language, that they think they're speaking Arabic, and they think they're speaking
nothing like Spanish.
Yeah, which is like, it's a different language, it's a different intonation, but still you see the ignorance of the Americans not even distinguishing who the other is.
And it's interesting as well, because
why they call them. This is why they also call them the Hispanic, not the Americans. They always refer to them as the Hispanic people, the Latinos, not the
Latinos.
The
Latinos.
But he identifies himself with them. It's interesting. On the one hand, like what Elaine said, he wants to be really white, but he knows that it's not going to work. So the best he could do is to identify himself, or to try to create some kind of new identity as a marginal, another kind of marginal citizen or person in America.
But then there's even a hierarchy that's set up, because at the end, when the policewoman asks him who he really is, and finds out that he's not Mexican, she says, "You got beaten up for being Mexican and you're not Mexican? What are you? You got off easy." Because had they known who he really was, then she postulates it'd be even worse. So that would be on the bottom rung that he's actually Arab.
Yeah, this is the hierarchy.
I wanted to go back to that, the question I wanted to ask Dina. We see this person who actually is trying to doing things which for us is very much against people who are Muslim. I mean, actually going to pubs and drinking beer. I mean, could it be seen that they got their just rewards by doing things that aren't acceptable? They would be snubbed. Could that be part of the message here? You know, don't behave like that, or it's just an identity issue.
It's a kind of just, I think, identity issue. They want to be just a kind of assimilation. It's
a part of assimilation. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about assimilation. She wants to be like them. She wants to be an American, but in the bottom of her heart, she knows that she's not American because of her color. She wants to be white, but actually she can't be because they are referred to as colored people, and some refer to them as people of color. And when she goes to the pubs or these places which don't, I'm putting them in quotation marks, they don't suit what's called the modern society, she wants to be seen as an American and not as a Muslim or an Palestinian. It's a kind of
they say here, that there aren't any American superheroes. All the superheroes, an Arab superhero. There aren't any Arab ones. It says here, his hair is too dark. He can't be an American, even if he wants to be. And the Arabs are described as being scummy, very derogatory against. I mean, you can see how American society is very anti-Arab.
But you can see also with her that she declares that she wants to be different and a different kind of woman, and at the end she says, I wish I were a superhero, but my hair is too dark, my skin is too far away from white, and it's not what's happening in the reality. I can't really be I can't really be a feminist because I still have these concepts and these conceptions of who a hero should be, and Walid should have been my hero.
Well, it's interesting because it shifts from the male, he would have been the superhero,
right?
And then she shifts to she would have been the superhero, but can't be.
Right, but both of them can't be. She wants him to have a superhero, and then she says, oh, wait a second, I could also be no, I can't be a superhero. And so she's so different at the end than at the beginning, when she says, I am a rebel.
Do any of you want to relate to this, connected to the Nigerian lady that amazing TED lecture about when she was speaking about having narratives? And I think this really connects with us, doesn't it? About having a one narrative about
Elaine, but I think I just want to return back to the point that Rina has already mentioned, that at this point she wanted her boyfriend to be a superhero. In this point she is giving up her feminist or individual identity in behalf of her national identity. She wants him to protect her and not to herself to protect herself. You see, she in this point, she is giving her individual identity as a woman who can be independent, who can do everything, who can protect herself without the help of any other. In other words, she is returning to the patriarchal society's values that the man or the male can protect her because of this complexities, the complexity of identity. She's giving up her individual identity as a woman, as individual one, as a responsible one, as independent one, in behalf of the national identity, because she wants to feel protected, and because here at this point she can't be herself.
Yeah.
She also has criticism about the California house, the quiet California house.
Complexity here.
She criticizes that because maybe she would like the nosy Arabs full of children and babies, And
I want to quiet.
I don't think so, because when he uses his strength, this kind of power, the physical power, in a Western society, which is completely, unacceptable, she feels relief. Because, and this is, of course, a kind of this kind of value, which is referred to as the what is called, sorry to say that, but the third world.
Okay, so ladies, let's just move on.
Can I add one thing?
Okay,
it's interesting.
Jen.
What?
Please do. Sorry.
Yeah, it's interesting as well that in the bar, Walid just kind of walks out as much as he can. He does try to hit back, but he tried harder to get away. That he doesn't take that active role that she's envisioning, that he would be the superhero, and that's one of the things that's so disappointing to her. Even though there's that sense that really he did the sensible thing.
But the moment she uses superhero, you can see that she's giving up her individual identity because she wants him to be superhero, not only hero but superhero. You see, this kind of femininity.
And she wanted him to defend her, or defend them.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. She wants him to defend her. In other words, she still feels inferior. Yeah.
This emphasizes the fact that Rina has mentioned at the beginning that the way she has her identity switched from the beginning as being a rebel and someone like a feminist, and then she's like an old-fashioned woman who wants a man to protect her. And she didn't do that.
Right, the same thing.
Although I do think she ends up with the idea that she herself would like to be a superhero, which actually comes at the very end after she realizes he couldn't be a superhero. She thinks about it as herself.
But either. But the Arab one. Irina, I can't refer to her as the old-fashioned woman because I feel that she's living or struggling. She's having this inner conflict of identity, the national identity and the individual identity. So she is unable to overcome her national identity in behalf of her individual identity. It's not because she is an old-fashioned woman.
Okay. But it does come back to the physical identity because she finally says, I just can't do it because of how I look. One factor.
Besides, there are also many factors that play a crucial role here that prevents her to give up her national identity in favor of her on behalf of her individual identity. Still, she's there, and not because she's an old-fashioned woman. Because of that, the difficult situation is living there.
Let's agree to disagree on this, whether she's old-fashioned or not old-fashioned. And just before we finish this session, would any of you like to relate to the narrative, the TED lecture, and how a Nigerian lady speaks about how we look at one narrative, and that's why we stereotype people.
משהו, אתה הוצאת משהו? הוצאת משהו מה...
So, would anyone like to relate to that? Because it's quite similar, a lot of similarities. I mean, the fact that someone comes from an African country and is immediately associated with people who are, colored in America, or African Negro, it's also quite similar. People get mixed up with who you are and make generalizations. No one wants to say anything about that?
Can you repeat that?
I want to know if you want to relate, Irina, if you'd like to relate to the TED lecture about.
Wait a second.
Okay, so anybody else want to relate to that? So if that's so, I think we can actually say we'll actually give you a few follow-up questions on this, and we hope you've enjoyed the session, and we look forward to seeing you all on the 30th of this month in Law College, where we have an exciting program for you. So meanwhile, goodbye to you all. Can you turn off someone turn off the recording, please?